Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you. I'm Dr. Peter Ogudoro. I lead the Nigerian teachers community, and at this hour, we are very lucky to have a fantastic human being joining us from the UK. His name is Simon Payne. He's a co-founder of the Rebel School, which won the Queen's Award in the UK in 2021. And it's really a great privilege to have him with us. And I tell you, the organization he runs with his colleague is an organization that has blessed me tremendously. All other factors being equal, there wouldn't be Nigerian teachers community without these guys, because I encountered them at the Henley Business School in England, where they ran a program just before I finished my PhD at the University of Reading. And that happens to be where I got the inspiration to start Nigerian teachers community when I returned to Nigeria. And that today has created a community that is blessing millions of families in terms of the lives our members are touching across the world. And we are very proud of what we are using the platform to accomplish. We have won some international awards as a result of the awesome work we're doing. And a lot of that credit goes to the Rebel School. At the time that program was done in England, that I participated in it, they were answering the name Pop-Up Business School, where they have transformed. Well, somehow I got talking with Simon earlier today, and he said the original name was actually the Rebel School, but as a result of certain circumstances, some obstacles they were trying to overcome, they decided to start with Pop-Up Business School. So Simon, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this awesome event. If you're there, can we hear your hello?
Thank you so much, and thank you for such a lovely warm welcome. And I'm really thrilled that you met us some years ago and got some value from the boot camps that we still run them. Actually, I'm in the middle of one at the moment with Henley Business School, which is really cool. So thank you very much for inviting me. Now, I think the important thing to note is that I get quite excited about this topic, and there is a risk that I'm still talking at midnight. So I think we'd originally planned for this to be a 1-hour session. So let's keep it to that if possible. So feel free to interrupt me if you can feel me going off at tangents, Peter.
Okay.
And before I move on, congratulations for the progress that you've made. When Halima from the Rebel team told me about your organization and your network, it really is a phenomenal achievement, and you're just going to go from strength to strength. So I'm going to slip in 1 or 2 stories in my session this evening, which I think will be of value to you as much as it will be to our audience this evening. And I can't wait to get started. So shall we dive in? Are you ready?
Excellent. Yeah, we are very much ready.
Okay. So colleagues from across Nigeria, here's the question that I have for you. What's stopping you? What's stopping you? And if you're listening on Zoom right now, and I don't know if Peter, you have access to the Facebook chat as well. If anybody here has a sense of the thing, or the number one thing that's holding you back, I'd love to hear it, because I can talk to that. I can directly address the challenges that you're facing, because the Rebel Business School, since we started 11 years ago, we've trained 30,000 people in starting a business in 10 different countries. So my question for you to reflect on, and please type it in the chat if you'd like to share, what's stopping you? What's holding you back? And that question, we ask that question to every single person that comes to a Rebel School course. And the answers are exactly the same. It doesn't matter which country you're in. And we've run our projects in New Zealand, in the USA, in Morocco, in France, across the UK, in Ireland, many countries around the world. We asked the same question, and it was really fascinating to me that even when we were in rural parts of Morocco, or in the city capital of Namibia, we ran some programs in Windhoek. People's answers are exactly the same. And I wanted to share those with you first of all. Let's have a look at what people say when I ask them the question, what's stopping you? They say the number one answer is fear or lack of confidence. That's the thing that's preventing them from taking the steps, from making the moves, from sharing that video on Facebook, from making a phone call or sending a sales email. They're scared. They're scared. The second answer is people don't know what to do. I want to start a business, but I don't know how. I don't know what order to do things in. Do I need a brand? Do I need a business name? Do I need a separate business account? Do I need, how do I do marketing? How do I get customers from Facebook or from LinkedIn or from Instagram or whatever? And I think for me that it's never been more possible to start a business, making money, doing something that is interesting to you. But the challenge that we face is, sometimes I describe it as the paradox of choice. There are so many things that we could do. Where do we start? And Genesis A says, I sit on that table of fear and lack of confidence. And I completely understand that. Me too. I've been there too. And I started my first business in 2003. I made the same mistakes that so many people make. And that's one of the reasons why Alan, my business partner, and I started the Rebel Business School, because you don't need to make the same mistakes that we made. You can make new ones. And then you can ring me up and say, Simon, I made a mistake. And I say, great, I'll put it in the course. So what else holds people back? Finance. Sometimes people say it's money that holds them back. And I'm going to talk a little bit about money before we get started into the essence of this session, folks, because I would really love you to come off of this session with absolute clarity of what your first step is from this point onwards. And thank you guys for connecting with me in the chat. And Mariam, I'm glad to see you here. I think we may have met before online, huh? This is awesome. So another attendee of the Henley Business School fame. So people are stuck with their business ideas because they're scared of taking the next step. They don't quite know what to do and in which order and how to do it. They're also scared of money, and people are missing some knowledge as well. We all know that we could pick up our phones and start a conversation with a potential customer anywhere in the world through the internet, through email, through social media platforms. But the challenge that we face is, what do we say? How do we say it? And how do we get started? And I think what my intention is for our session this evening, and we're going to run through till something like 6 p.m. My intention is for you all to understand exactly what your next few steps are. And you'll see quite quickly the reason why people get stuck. And it will point to the reason. If you're feeling stuck, it will point to the reason as to why you're feeling stuck. Okay, so let me just stop the share for a second and we'll go on to the next section. Now, I'm going to empower you to think differently about business, folks. And here's one of the reasons why the Rebel Business School started. My business partner went to a UK government-funded business advice service, and the advice they gave him was something that almost put him off starting a business for life. Now, Alan, he won't mind me saying this, he talks about me all the time. I'm talking about him behind his back, but he knows. Now, when Alan started his business, he has a private school education in the UK with money in the bank. He's very resourceful. He has an excellent network, a 6-figure earning wife, a supportive family, and the traditional approach to starting a business almost put him off starting a business for life. Now, what of the rest of us that don't have that privilege? If it's putting him off, what's it doing for everybody else? So what I just want to touch on quickly is the Rebel methodology for starting a business. It's the opposite of what I'm about to tell you, because the traditional startup process, if you went to a traditional business advisor and said to them, you know, I've got an idea for starting a business, what's the first thing they're going to say you need? They're going to say you need a business plan. Now, I've written business plans before, and my assertion is that they're all guesswork. It's a work of fiction because you don't actually know, you're just guessing. And the traditional approach to starting a business says you need to come up with an idea, you need to write a business plan, you need to figure out how much money you're going to borrow, you get funding, which isn't actually an option open to lots of people. But, you know, I know plenty of people that have borrowed money to start a business. They then spend the money. In my experience, people spend the money on the wrong things. They develop the product or service. They make everything first. They set up their legal structures. They get business bank accounts. They then start the process of marketing their product or marketing their service. And then maybe they'll make money in year 2. Have you ever heard that expression that it takes 2 years to make a profit in business? Folks, I can't wait more than 20 minutes for jollof rice. Never mind wait 2 years to make a profit. So what I want to say to you is that this is no longer a viable way of starting a business. It's only actually relevant to a very small number of people. So what's the alternative? Because that doesn't sound exciting to me. I don't know about you. Like the way to get going in business is not about business plans. You can build a business in 15 minutes. How do I know that? We've done it. We've done it many times. The record is 12 minutes. We started a business in Indianapolis, America. We created a one-page website. It took 8 minutes. We published the website and spent the next 4 minutes texting people to see if they wanted to buy our product. You don't need any of that stuff anymore. But what I'm going to give you is an alternative, is how to get your business underway. Why? Well, business has changed. Business has changed. What do you think these 4 companies have in common? What do you think these 4 companies have in common? Just to make the point of how much business has changed. I mean, I'm having different conversations in my business today than I was having 3 months ago. You know, ChatGPT wasn't a thing 3 months ago. We weren't using it. So business is changing very fast. For example, the biggest taxi company in the world, Uber, doesn't own a single taxi. The biggest media company in the world, Facebook, doesn't make any media. The second biggest retailer in the world, the Alibaba Group, doesn't own a single shop. The biggest holiday accommodation provider in the world, Airbnb, it doesn't own any accommodation. Now, I'm not saying you have to start one of these businesses, but what I'm saying to you is the tools that these companies have used in order to grow their business exponentially are available to all of us for free. They are completely free. Sure, there's paid for versions, but you can use these tools for free. Now, what I wanted to give you tonight was an understanding of what's the foundation, you know, because we all know we can use social media. We all know we can sell things. But what's the reason that we're stuck? What's the reason that we're not getting the results that we want? How do we cut through that fear of failure and lack of confidence and knowing what to do and the need for money? Let's put all that to one side and let's look at it in a different way. Now, I'm going to type something in the chat for you folks. And one of the foundational principles of the Rebel Business School is this: sell before you create. I'm putting it in the chat for those on Zoom. But for those that aren't watching on Zoom, or you're watching on Facebook or a recording later on, the essence of this, folks, is I want you to think about how you can sell before you've created anything, effectively selling in advance. Now, how do you sell in advance? Well, you need trust. Okay. Now, I remember taking the Rebel School to Namibia in 2018. And we ran a session in Windhoek, Namibia. We were in a hotel. We've got something like 80, 90 people in a hotel conference room in Windhoek. And we're delivering a 3-day version of our course. Now, we've got quite an interesting business model because nobody ever has to pay for our training, by the way. So if you're interested to find out more about Rebel Business School, we'd love you to join one of our courses. They're completely free. We never sell anything to anyone that comes because we've got a sponsorship model. And we were sponsored to go to Namibia. And I'm in this room and I'm talking about you can start your business by selling your product or your service in advance and getting paid in advance. And people were looking at me very suspiciously, like this. What do you mean you can sell in advance? And this young woman, Florence, she said to me, she was 19 years old, and she lived in the poorest part of the city of Windhoek, in a place called Katatura, which was the township in the city. And she said to me, Simon, I understand what you're saying, and it sounds great, but that won't work here. It might work in London, but it won't work in Namibia. There's no way I can start my business without spending any money. And guys, this is the essence of a startup. Here's the second thing, the second principle I'm going to type in the chat for you. And for those of you watching on Facebook or somewhere else, the words I've put in the chat are mini experiment. Don't think of your business like it's a business. Think of your business like it's a mini experiment. Because in the last, we've been running the Rebel Business School since 2011. So in 12 years of business, almost 12 years, just coming up to our 12th year, it still feels to me now like it's a mini experiment. And that mentality helped me to be less scared. It made me feel more confident because, hey, if it doesn't have to work, it's not like when you get a job, when you apply for a job, it's very binary. You either get the job or you don't get the job. You either succeed in your job or you struggle in your job. But when you're running a business, actually the process of running a business, it's a series, like a dominoes, a series of experiments. Experiment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I still feel that now, even all these years on, it still feels like an experiment to me. So how do you run an experiment? Well, you do it for free, first of all. When you think you need things for your business, well, try and get them for free, or try and borrow them, or barter and exchange ideas and services and goods, and cook a meal for an accountant so they'll do your books for free and things like that. Actually, that's a really, really good way of, one of the terms you might be familiar with is the term bootstrapping. I want you to think about bootstrapping your business, pulling your business up by the boots. Don't spend money unless you have to. But the foundational way of doing that is sell before you create. You use your customers' money to build your business and not yours. Okay, guys, you can probably tell I'm very hot. In the UK, it's like 28 degrees today, which very rarely happens. And in the UK, we go absolutely crazy when the temperature goes above 20. So I can't cope with the heat. But hopefully that's not distracting you too much. So here's the thing then. Selling before you create is a way of you taking payment from your customers before you've actually created the product. And let's go back to Florence. Florence, this young Black woman in the center of Namibia, she's got her arms crossed like this, and she's looking at me saying, Simon, this might work in London, but it's not going to work here. And I said to her, Florence, tell me about your business. And she said, well, I've created my own brand. And I said, okay, what kind of brand? She said, it's a clothing brand. And I've got these logos that I want to put on T-shirts and hoodies and baseball hats, and I want to sell them to people. And I said to her, Florence, what if you took 50% of the money from your customers up front? So every time you make a sale, let's say the hoodie is going to cost you, in the UK money, it's going to cost you £15. You take £7.50 off of the customer first. You use their money to go and print the hoodie. You get the hoodie. You take it back to your customer and you say, hey, I've made you your hoodie. Now you pay me the other £7.50. I said to Florence, do you think that might be possible? And she kind of frowned at me and she said, maybe. And that was the last time I saw Florence. Until 12 months later, I went back to Windhoek. I went back to the same hotel. They invited me back as the guest speaker. I'm stood on the stage and sat in the front row as this beaming face. Florence, now 20 years old, is staring back at me like she's nodding. She's like big smile, like nodding at me, going, yes, yes. What is it, Florence? Come on up and tell me. And she stood on the microphone, and she was a very shy woman when I first met her. She stood on the microphone and she spoke to nearly 100 people. And she said, when I first met Rebel Business School, they told me I should sell my value before I created it. And I didn't understand what they meant, but I tried it out. I sold my t-shirts and my hoodies. I took 50% of the money up front. I used my customers' money to go and fulfill the order. And Florence was able to pay her way through university and donate money to the orphanage that her parents ran. It absolutely blew me away, folks. And I think the thing that I wanted to share with you is some of you will be thinking that's not appropriate for my industry, but I want you to push yourselves to think, how could I take payment in part or in full for my product or for my service so that I don't have to spend money? And that really is like one of the guiding principles of we call it the mini experiment model. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you what the mini experiment model looks like, because it's very empowering. It helps you to understand, where are you missing the information that you need? Where are you missing the action that you need to take? Where are you confused about which direction to go in? Because now I know this from personal experience. There's two things that we're getting wrong, folks. The first thing that we're getting wrong is we're spending too much time on this, looking at the progress that other business owners have apparently made. Has anyone experienced that thing when you're looking at Instagram or some other app and you're seeing people making lots of money, being super efficient and effective and successful, and they're driving their Lamborghinis and they're saying that how they left their job earning £3 an hour and now they're earning £300,000 a week and all of that stuff. We spend too much time consuming, and that comparison with them makes us feel that we're not worthy. That does not do anything for our confidence, folks. Okay, so there's things to learn from these people, but remember, much of what you see online is what people want you to see online. Okay, they're not showing you the 10 years of struggle up until that moment. They're not showing you all of the business mistakes that they've made. They're not showing you all of the stuff that actually has been really hard for them to achieve. I mean, it may or may not be true. Who knows? I happen to think a lot of it isn't true. A lot of it is fake. So we have to make sure that we protect ourselves and protect our confidence and protect our energy, protect our mojo by not comparing ourselves to people that are putting things online. And remember, what you're seeing often online is a culmination of years and years of hard work. Many of us are actually at the start of that journey. Many of us are at the start of that journey. And one of the messages that I wanted to give you tonight, thank you, Moella, I agree with you. I am right. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to be a beginner and recognize, and this is what I'm going to give you in a moment. The steps that you take when you're at the start of your journey are different to the steps that people tell you to take in their Instagram videos about their perfect lives. Because they say things to you like, all you need to do is to sign up for this affiliate marketing plan. All you need to do is to sign up to this website. All you need to do is to create this content. All you need to do is this. All you need to do is that. Remember, their starting point today is much further down the line than your starting point right now. So what I wanted to give you is, when you're at the beginning of that journey, or even if you've had a few business experiments, I'd be curious to know, like, if you're exploring your first ever business experiment, type it in the chat, type the number 1. If this is your second, type it's number 2. If this is your third, put number 3. I'm really curious to know what your level of business experience is. Thank you, Genesis. First time round. I get it. And I think one of the things that took me into business, thank you, Abdul. Deborah, first time as well. One of the things that took me into business, like, we're beginners, folks. I'm talking to you now 20 years after my first business experiment. And between Alan and I think we must have had something like 35, 40 business experiments. Some of them have gone really well. Some of them have gone badly. Some of them have gone worse, and some of them are okay. So if you're at number 1 or number 2 or even number 3 or 4, thank you. I'm going to try and pronounce your names here. Sunmola, thank you. Comfort, thank you very much for contributing. Olu Wasian, number 2 for you. Surprise EO, thank you, number 2. Adei and Godwin, number 3. Great. It looks like you're the expert here. You have one more than anybody else. This is so interesting to me because now if you're like, and Dr. Ogudoro's community, mostly teachers, I understand. So that means most people on this call and watching on Facebook will be people with an academic background, Peter, is that right?
That's correct.
Great. So people of an academic background, it means that you've thrived in an education setting. It means that you've learned how to study. It means that most of you are quite good at obeying the rules. And if you're not good at obeying the rules, you're good at not getting caught, which is excellent. But that also means that we've learned how to be very, very good employees. The education system has taught us compliance in many ways. And I think what my assertion is that if you want to change the way you make money, one of the things on your to-do list is to learn how to change the way you think. And, you know, I'm not a natural born entrepreneur, if there is such a thing. I came into entrepreneurship quite late in life, comparatively speaking. My business partner sold T-shirts and sweets to his teachers when he was in school and almost got excluded from school because of it. Whereas I didn't even know what business was. I didn't understand it. I had a different career and I worked for 12 years, 13 years before I started my first business. And one of my key learnings was, if you want to change the way you make money, you have to change the way you think. And Olubukola and Christian have said something similar. So it's their second attempt at business. And just, you know, I mean, I think I had something like 5 or 6 business experiments between the ages of 30 and 32. None of them worked particularly well. And I think by bootstrapping your business, the thing that I was saying earlier on, pulling your business up by the boots, get things for free, borrow things, barter things, sell other things around your home that you don't need anymore to create a pot of money to spend on your business. But most importantly, sell your value before you create it. What that means is, if you minimize the amount of cash that you spend on your business, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're not going to end up with a garage or a shed or a front room full of unsold products. Now, I bet that resonates with some people on this call. I bet some of you have spotted an opportunity, bought a bunch of products, and then struggled to sell them. I know I have. Me too. Okay. But the second thing that's going to happen, and I think this is super interesting, I want you to assume that the first and second and third and fourth attempt at business probably isn't going to go how you expect it to, in which case you need bounce back ability. You need to be able to wake up tomorrow morning and say, look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? My business idea didn't work. Thank you, Jummy. Number 3 for you. My business idea didn't work. I'm going to try something new. Whereas if you've spent money on your business idea, it's much harder to bounce back when it doesn't work. So by not spending money, you're making it easier on yourself to try something new when it doesn't work. Okay, so here's the next bit then, folks, which I'm really, really excited to share with you. Because what I'm about to show you is the opposite of how business is taught in schools, how business is taught in colleges and universities around the world. It's the opposite of what a bank manager would say. It's the opposite of what an accountant would say. Because they would tell you that you need a business plan, that you need money, and that you need legal structures. I'm going to tell you something different. Because if it's your first, second, third attempt in business, it's not a business yet. It's just an experiment. And as soon as I thought of my business like it was an experiment, I felt so empowered because it didn't matter so much if it didn't work. Now, I'm going to give you some information, which is, if you came to me in 6 months' time and you said, Simon, I've been on one of your Rebel Business School courses, but I'm not getting the results that I want. I'm stuck. The thing I'm about to share with you is a step-by-step process that I would take you through to help you diagnose why you're not getting the results that you want. So if you're sat at home now thinking, I really want to make my own money, it's important for me, for my family, for my well-being, for my ambitions and my goals, to figure out how this thing of business, how can I create my own income? How could, like, and for some of us, it's because we want to change our careers. You know, I've met plenty of teachers that have given their time, effort, and energy in service of teaching, but now it's time to create something for themselves. And they're starting a business because they want to teach their kids entrepreneurship. They want to make a little more money. Some of us have to start a business to make ends meet, especially in 2023 when everything seems to be more expensive. So what I'm going to do is to give you a step-by-step process, and you're going to notice very quickly which of these areas you need to put your effort and energy on. And guys, this is very empowering. And this is the essence of the mini experiment model, which I wanted to give you. Let me just take a sip of water. I told you I get excited and I just need to breathe, and so do you. I'm going to talk you through this diagram step by step, everybody. And this is essentially a summary of 12 years of teaching business to 30,000 people. So pay attention, lean in, make notes if you need to. If you said to me, Simon, I'm not making enough money, or I'm not making any money in my business idea, the first question I'm going to ask you is linked to the red love heart around the outside of those 3 circles. I'm going to ask you this question. Have you picked a business idea that lights you up? Because lots of us start businesses that we think we should start, rather than the ones that we really want to start. Because business is hard. It's not easy, you know. So let's give ourselves the best possible chance of success by choosing a business idea that we're excited for, not necessarily the one that we can make money out of. And there's an interesting difference. For example, we had this lovely lady called Ellie that came on one of our courses. She came from 15 years of public relations. She said she wanted to start a PR company. When I had this conversation with her, she realized that starting a PR company was the business she thought she should start, not the one that she actually wanted to start. She said, my dream is I've always wanted to be an artist. If I can figure out how to make money out of being an artist, that's the business I really want to start. So for all of you folks that are watching this, my question for you is, what would be, if you woke up tomorrow morning and your business was exactly how you wanted it to be, what would be the evidence? How would you know? What would you see and hear and feel? So let's make sure, step 1, we pick something that lights us up. Step 2, in your business idea, I want you to focus on one product or one service first. One of the biggest reasons why people get stuck is they're trying to run too many business ideas at once. I just want you to pick one. Circle A. What are you selling? What's the one product or the one service? Let me give you another example. We had somebody that wanted to start a yoga business. Okay. She's a yoga teacher. And I said to her, what are you selling? And she said, well, I'm doing one-to-one yoga sessions. I'm doing yoga classes. I've got my own yoga products. I've got a blog. I'm also setting up my yoga channel on YouTube. And I want to run yoga retreats. And she's trying to sell 6 things at once. And I said to her, you sound very busy. You must be making lots of money. She said, I'm not busy. I'm not making any money. And I said to her, I think I know why. Because I want you to pick which of those products or services excite you the most? It doesn't matter which one it is. What excites you the most? Pick one first, because I don't know if you've ever been to a business networking event. You might even be that person, and they say to you, so what's your business? And you say, well, I'm a dance teacher. I'm an artist. I also do sculptures. I've also got my own .com business. I sell products on Etsy, and I've got an eBay business, and I sell things on Facebook. And you go, oh, it's too much information, folks. If you're not clear on your business, nobody else is going to be. So here's the thing. Where the focus goes, the cash flows. That's really what the mini experiment model is all about. It's teaching you where to focus. So I said to the yoga teacher, which of your products or services lights you up the most? And here's the important bit, that you can start right away. Because lots of people go, well, I'd love to fly all around the world teaching people how to, whatever it is, how to dance or how to do yoga. But if you haven't got any money to spend, well, that's going to hold you back. So start the business that excites you the most, that you can begin right away. Bingo. Yoga teacher says, I want to run yoga classes in my community. First of all, I'm just going to book a session. I'll do it an hour a week and see if anybody comes. Great. Because as soon as you decide what's the one product or service, that's going to teach you the next step. When you've got too many things in your mind as to which direction to go in, it's not clear what your next move is. So this is teaching you to have laser-like focus. Now, for those of you that haven't chosen a business idea yet, I'm going to type something in the chat now, and I'm going to say it out loud for people watching on Facebook or elsewhere. If you haven't chosen a business idea, here's what I want you to think about is best guess. What's your best guess out of all of the ideas that you've had so far that lights you up the most, that you can start right away? Then what you're going to do is to commit. You're going to say, that's the one thing that I'm going to try first. I'm going to get to my other business ideas later. If you're anything like me, I bet there's some entrepreneurial people on this call, and type the word me in the chat if you're someone who has lots of business ideas and you have a new business idea every other day. If you're anything like me, you'll stay up until midnight building a website for a business that you'll never deliver. I love that, Genesis. Thank you. Yeah, there's so many, and this is a great problem to have, actually. Sometimes I call this the curse of the creative, or the blessing of the creative. We're blessed because God has given us an abundance of ideas to try. And sometimes that becomes overwhelming. I don't know which direction to turn in. Yes, Marianne, I get it. We don't know which direction to turn in first. Adinike, I get it. And here's the thing. If you didn't have any ideas at all, that would be a different problem, okay? The fact that you're having ideas is great. But what I need to help you to do is to focus. Focus. Thank you, Godwin and Kemi. Where the focus goes, the cash will follow. Now, what happens if I go back to my yoga example? The yoga teacher sells yoga classes. For every person that signs up to her yoga class, she can then sell the retreat. She can get them on the YouTube. She can get them to buy products. She can sign them up to one-to-one, but she can't do that until she got the customer. So that process, guys, is called the upsell and the cross-sell. The upsell and the cross-sell. But that can't happen until you've got the customer. How do you get the customer in the first place? They need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. How are you going to do that? You need to be clear about what it is you're selling. Because if you're not clear, then nobody else is going to be. So I'm going to invite you, everybody that's watching this, out of all of the ideas that you've had so far, is choose one for a mini experiment. Which of your business ideas excites you the most, that you think you'd like to have a go at first? And if you haven't got one yet, that's okay. Just be open to when the idea hits you. Because when you're not overthinking these things, when you're calm, God will send you everything you need. Okay. It's when we try and think about it too much, that's when we run out of ideas. I'm thinking, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. We just need to be calm and breathe and be present with God, be present with the universe. And then the next idea is going to come to you. Okay. So here's our next little section then, folks. So we pick a business idea that we love. We then say, what are you selling? What's the one product or service that you're going to experiment with trying to sell first? It doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be interesting to you. And then we got to say to ourselves, who is the customer most likely to buy it? So this is where in circle that's labeled B. Who are you selling to? What do you think the number one answer is to this question? Who is your target customer? What do you think people say to me when I say, hey, I see that you're selling digital ebooks, or I see that you're selling yoga classes, or I see that you're selling food, I see that you're selling cakes, or we've had many Nigerian caterers that have been to the Rebel Business School courses in the UK, and some of their food is knockout. And I see you're selling these things. And who is your target customer? And they say to me, anyone in London. And I go, wow, like London, I don't know what London has, something like 7-8 million people. That's a lot of chicken. Like it's a lot of rice. You got to say, like, where people, you're not going to sell, like for anyone that's familiar with the geography of London, we've got the River Thames in the middle, you've got North London, you've got South London, you've got West London, you've got East London. Okay. So if you're living in North London, people are not going to drive from Croydon, which is in South London, which is going to take you in London traffic at least 90 minutes to get there. People are not going to travel to your area. I'm sorry, they're not going to travel to your area until you're famous for your chicken, until you're famous for whatever the food is, the cake, the curry, whatever, the delicious food that you make. People will travel further once they know you, once they like you, and once they trust your food. But they're not going to travel until then. So our job is to focus on our target audience. Now, some of the biggest reasons why people struggle with business ideas, number one, they've not focused on one thing. Number two, they're not focused on who their target customer is. They try and sell to everybody. If you try and sell to everybody, you'll end up selling to nobody. Nobody's going to buy your stuff. Okay. So the thing that excites me the most is when people say, actually, my customers are women who are mums who live in my village or live in my town or live in the part of the city where I'm from, because they go like a laser. And I think, remember this, and this is one of the things that helped me to understand this, folks. And by the way, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, I'm really happy to answer your questions. Please type them in the chat, because I'm aware that I'm going to be giving these themes to you tonight, and I get very excited about them, but I know that questions will come up, and you might say things like, well, yeah, but I've got 6 business ideas. How do I choose? Or I've got no business ideas. How do I find one? Or I've only got one business idea, but I can't figure out who my target customer is. I'm very happy to go into more detail to help you figure that out, folks, because I accept and I recognize that the information I'm giving you now is designed to be relevant to everybody, but you might have some specific questions, so I'll invite you to ask them. I'm going to keep going until you do. We've got about 10 minutes left. So here's the final part of this session, folks. The final part of the session is, once you've chosen something that lights you up and you've picked one product or one service for your first mini experiment, it doesn't matter what it is, you then say to myself, well, who's my target customer? Who's my target audience? I will take my time to find them and talk to them. Now, the third circle, I don't know if you can hear the thunder, folks. It's suddenly the heavens have opened in the UK and I have loud thunder. Hope you can still hear me. The third circle, which says circle C, action to get a sale. The action to get a sale is where it's at. It's the sending of the emails, the liking and following and commenting on social media posts. It's picking up the phone. It's going to places where your customers are and talking to them. That's where your success is going to be. Now, let me give you a secret of the Rebel School. A secret of the Rebel School. It's linked to Circle B and Circle C. This secret is just for you, my Nigerian friends. Please don't share it with anybody else. It's a secret. That's the whole point of a secret. What I wanted to tell you is once you've identified what your product or service is that you want to try selling first, the action that you need to take becomes a lot clearer. And let me give you a shortcut. The shortcut is your customers are already buying products and services from your competitors or businesses that are similar. So for example, if your audience are from your town or from your village or from your city, they will already be buying things in your town, village, or city. So you can find them by going to the library, by going to the cafe, the restaurant, the bar, the nightclub, the theater, the community venue. They're already there. So once you know who your customer is, your next challenge is, where can I go to find them? And for those of you that are selling things online, as busy teachers, what you're going to be doing is building a business around your job. That means that much of your activity is likely to be online. So you can use these digital tools. The most powerful part of any social media platform is the search engine, because you can type in the search engine. I can find a cafe or a restaurant in my town or city. I can search for them. I can look at their social media account. I can look at their followers. Who's going to be following the football club in my local town? Well, it's local people. And I can find a giant list of potential customers there. What do I do with them? I like their posts. I comment on their posts and I follow them. But until I know what I'm selling, until I know who my target audience is, it's not clear to me what action to take. Now, when it comes to taking action, you need to do 10 times the action than you think you do. Don't send one email, send 10. Don't send 10 emails, send 100. Don't do one social media post. Do one every day for a month. If we're going to do a mini experiment, let's do a mini experiment properly. Let me give you an example of something, and I'm really keen on how this has worked. And I'm just going to look this guy's name up on my phone because his name is Eric John Campbell. Okay, so Eric John Campbell has got 116,000 followers on Instagram. He's doing something right, and we can learn from them. I call them my gurus. Who are the people that are doing something similar to me that I can learn from? Now, Eric's an author. He's written a book called A Manual for Manifesting Your Dream Life. And I followed him because I saw one piece of content that I liked. This is interesting. Now, and I don't know if you can see the screen here, but his content is all the same kind of posts. This guy consistently posts the same thing. Now, what he does, he's got a close-up of his book. He runs his pen across the page and reads out the content of his book. Now, I saw about 15 of those posts before I decided to buy. One of the reasons people get frustrated is they say, I've done a post on Facebook about my business, or I've done a post on whatever social media platform, but nothing's happened. So my business idea isn't working. And I say to people, how many posts have you done? And they say 3. And they've got 2 likes. That's the reason why. The reason that Eric got my business, the reason I bought his book, is because I engaged with 15 of his posts over a period of a few months, and that converted me into a customer. Slow and steady wins the race. Remember, most of us are starting at the beginning. We're right at the beginning of our journey. So actually it's going to take us a few months of consistently doing a little bit every day or a little bit every other day to take the action to get the customers you want. So the steps that I've given you today, folks, are really designed to help you diagnose where you need to put your effort and energy. Question 1, have you picked something you love, the love heart? Question 2, have you focused on one product or service? If you haven't, that's where you put your energy next. Make a decision, stick with it for a month and say, that's my mini experiment for the next 30 days. Nothing else. Put all of your other ideas on the someday maybe list and lean into that one. And once you've picked one, you can say to yourself, well, circle B, who is the customer who's most likely to buy that stuff? And thirdly, what's the action that I need to take to find them? Am I going to be doing posts? Am I going to be searching for people and connecting with them? Am I going to be ringing people? Am I going to be emailing? Am I going to be texting? And so on. That's the stuff that's going to get you rolling, folks. This is like a foundational part of starting a business. Lots of people that they've chosen one idea, but they don't know who their target customer is. So they don't know what action to take. I've got some people that they know what product, they've taken lots of action, but they still don't know who their customer is. Or I know people that know who their customer is, but they're trying to sell them too many things at once. Got it, Marianne. So that's a really lovely question. I'm going to help you answer that in a second. Let me just give my final thought. My final thought, guys, is this. Nobody is going to create the life that you want for you. Whatever it is that you're doing this for, and from when I started my business, I was doing it to make more money because I wasn't being able to support my family. I started a business, I got fired from my job. That made me realize that never again do I want to put my family's security in someone else's hands. So being an entrepreneur puts the power in my hands to make the money that I want. I wanted to teach my kids entrepreneurship. I needed to pay my bills. And most importantly for me, I wanted to do something meaningful with my time and spend my time. We have this wonderful gift of life. Let's make sure I spend as much of it as I can doing something that really excites me and really lights me up. So, Marianne, if you would like to jump on quickly, I'm up for a conversation. We can explore that together a little bit more. Would you like to unmute and have a chat about it? Please feel free to unmute if you do, if that's okay with you, Peter.
Yeah, Miriam, that's fine. Come on and provide some flesh to the issue you're raising so that Simon can assist you to get some clarity there.
Hey, Marianne, how are you?
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Okay.
Thank you
Good evening.
for taking up my question.
You're very welcome. So how can I help? Well, what clues have you had so far?
Anyway, I've had lots of ideas
Uh-huh.
of what to start with, but like you said, you have to focus on one. So I have like 2 ideas I've been battling with. I've been thinking one might not really, take off and get me the amount of money I would want. But then I was thinking the other might work more and get me the money I could get, but then it doesn't light me up. So that's really why I'm asking what I go for.
Got it. That's a really cool question. I love the question, and I'm really glad that you've narrowed it down to 2 so far, because actually that makes things a lot easier. My question for you is, how important is it for you to make money at pace, quickly? How important is it for you to get money in soon?
It's quite important because, like you very well know, as teachers, we earn quite, let me say, not that much.
I understand.
And the cost of living and all that, someone needs to do more for his family because of the kids and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm just at a loss at what to do.
I understand. Okay. So there's a couple of things when I'm going through a decision-making process, Mariam, and that was the reason for the question. If money is no object and you don't need to earn money quickly, I always say to people, follow your heart, and go with the thing that excites you more. If you think actually, I need to earn money faster, I don't have unlimited time here, I need to move quickly. Another way of thinking about it is, I'm going to put this in the chat for everybody, actually. I'm going to type in the words, first this, then that. Okay. So you could say to yourself, the business idea that excites you and interests you more, I'm going to explore that and pick a month and say, on the 1st of October, 2023, I'll write it on my calendar, in my diary. That's when I'm going to revisit that business idea. But for now, I'm going to park it. First, I'm going to go on the business idea that I think can make me money quickly, because by making a decision, you free yourself up. It gives you that momentum and teaches you what action that you need to take to make it real. And I think two things might happen, Mariam. Once you've done that, you might find, once you've taken the first couple of steps, you might find one of two things. Either the business idea that you've chosen to make progress on really doesn't excite you at all and you find it really hard to take action, in which case you can press the pause button and go, it's worse than I thought it was going to be. I'm not enjoying myself. I'm going to park that and I'm going to go to business idea number 2. Okay. Or the opposite happens, and I'm going to give you an example in a second. The opposite happens is actually once you commit the action, once you start making progress and doing some of the work, you might find that you enjoy it more than you expected to, in which case the progress that you make on that business idea might be faster than you thought, and you don't even need to visit a business idea number 2 because you're having more fun than you thought you were going to have. And I think that's the thing for me. It doesn't necessarily matter so much that the business idea lights you up. It's more about the work that you undertake in order to make it real. Enjoy the process of business. Business is supposed to be fun. Otherwise, why would we do it? Because it's tough. You know what I mean? So
yes, it makes
if
sense.
I just pause for a second before I give you an example, Mariam, what does that make you think? Does that make you want to lean in either direction?
Yes, I feel more, let me say, empowered to lean on one direction. I think I get what you mean. Either could work, and I could take one first and see what comes out. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. And I love that. And thank you for asking the question, because I think your challenge, your dilemma is something that so many people face. So I'm really glad that you've asked it. And I think the thing that you reminded me of is for some time, I dreamt of being an artist and I wanted to be a full-time artist. And then one day, after something like a year of really feeling uncomfortable with the fact that I wasn't taking any action, I went to the shop and I bought a load of paints and I got my canvases out of the garage and I put in all this art material together. I spent a whole weekend painting and I realized I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was. And then, I sent my kids back to their mum covered in paint. Like, it wasn't an enjoyable experience, but I wouldn't have known that until I'd taken steps to make it real. So by making a decision, treating it as an experiment. And here's the other bit, Mariam, of course, the other bit that this does is treat this like your entrepreneur's training course. Whichever business idea you decide to do in the future, what you're about to learn on the one that you start with will teach you what you need to do to make any future business idea more successful. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much. It does. Thank you.
I'm excited for you. I can hear your voice has changed already, Mariam. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So, folks, here's the final thoughts from me are this. If you haven't done so already, Peter has put in the chat the Nigerian Teachers Online Community, the Facebook group there. Please click that link and join it immediately so you can get access to a brilliant community and more interesting projects and ideas and workshops and training sessions that Peter's running. You're very welcome. And Peter, is that okay if we take another question? from Olu?
Yes, definitely. We are not in a hurry.
Great.
We can still do 10 minutes more.
Great, beautiful.
Yeah.
Please
Because
ask
a
your
few people
questions.
if people are likely to want to unmute and ask you questions by voice.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Coach. Good evening, Mr.
Hello.
Peter. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks for the light up. It's been awesome. Well, I've had a business idea. When you asked what business idea we had in the past, I've had about two.
Yeah.
And one of them, I acted it out. And of course, I'm a classroom teacher, and I used to have an online space where I have children like from ages 3 to about 15.
Yeah.
I groom them on etiquette. Okay, so after a while, I think we were in the space for like about 1 year plus.
Great.
And I had other I got pregnant, and other our family responsibility crept came up, and I couldn't follow up on that space, and I had to stop for a very long time, like for 1 year plus. So I couldn't follow up on my dream, and it's actually something I love doing, but now I'm finding it difficult to start over again because I've left my dream for over a year. I'm not as enthusiastic as I used to be before. It's something that the growth was like impressive when I was on it, and I wish to start back again. But how to start over, it's a challenge for me right now. So I don't know just know how to go about it.
I understand. Is it still in your heart?
Yes, please. It's still there.
It's still there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think the thing that if I was restarting something again, I think my first action would be go back to the people that that used to be my customers and my clients and ask them some questions and say, look, I'm starting up again. How can I make it better? Would you be interested? Because it's like do you know the expression, a bird in the hand? There's an expression in the UK, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Like you've got an opportunity here where people have already spent money with you and they would already trust you. So I'd be asking them some questions. If I was to restart this, how can I make it even better than it was before? What would you suggest that I would do differently? Do you know anybody that would be interested in this service? Because they might have younger siblings. They might have had, a family, more children since the last time you spoke with them. And who knows, you might find that those people recommend. But I think by reconnecting with them, it will help you reconnect with what it is that you created and what your passion is. And the next step, once you've done that, so reconnect with your old audience. The next step would be to go and find a bunch of your customers previously. They are most likely to be the ones that will find you your next audience. How does that sound? Okay. Does that sound like something that would be useful?
Yes, it does. Really sounds good. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic.
And also, one more thing. Yes, because of I've not like home responsibility, chores, and all of that. So having to take care of children, I've not. Before now, I used to keep up with dropping posts on my page, but for a very long time, like for months now, I've not done that. So I'm thinking, starting again. Will it make sense, like having to, I might not get acceptance as I used to get before now, because for a very long time I've been out of space.
Great question. Here's what's happening. Can you imagine people sat at home and looking at their phones right now saying, hey, you know what? It's been 30 days since I've seen a post from this person. I wonder why have they started posting again? They're not thinking that. They're so busy watching cat videos and meme videos and football videos and all of the other things that they're not going to even realize. They're not going to notice. In fact, the most likely thing that's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, she's posting again. We haven't seen one of her posts. This is great. They're going to welcome you with open arms. And actually, especially if you're adding value to them, the frequency of your posts is much, much less relevant to your clients than you realize. The frequency of posts is more about getting engagement and views from people who don't know you yet. The algorithms of these social media platforms reward regular posting. But what's really important for you is you just stay connected with your audience. And, you know, even if you did one post a week, you know, staying in the game and staying connected with them would be plenty. The most important thing you can do right now is to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
great.
so much.
Thank
You're
you
very welcome.
very much there, Simon, for that. Can we hear Genesis? Your hand has been up. We
Saw
take
that
that as
question.
the last question.
Yeah.
Genesis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, good evening. So I've been in a business with a friend, and then it didn't go so well. It was a very close friend. It didn't go so well. And then I had to stay away, and then he went on to run it for a while until he ran out. And then now I'm going back into business with another friend. And then I'm trying to understand how we can share responsibilities when it comes to financing the business and when it comes to deciding who is going to do what. And just in general, I'd like to hear why exactly you decided to go into business with your current business partner, and
Yeah.
tips on how you can manage relationships.
That's a
with
great
business
question,
partner.
Genesis. And let me tell you, I didn't get it right first time. So I've been in business with two other people. One of them was a very close friend of mine. It didn't end well. The reason it didn't end well was because we weren't in a position of trust where we felt we could share with each other everything that was going on.
Yes.
So our relationship wasn't strong. So I think one of the things that's worked as a guiding principle that's worked really well with Alan and I is that we've had very honest and very difficult conversations throughout. Okay, so I think my principles for this, I'm going to type them in the chat for everybody as well. Principle number 1 is trust. Principle number 2 is having difficult conversations early. And by that, I mean things like, if we decide not to continue with this business for unforeseen reasons. So for example, you or your business partner might suddenly decide in 9 months' time that you've met the partner of your dreams and you've decided to fly to Mexico to set up a life with them. And neither of you saw that coming today, but in 6 months' time, it could happen. So if that's the case, how are you going to separate from the business, and how are you going to split the assets and the money that you've made and so on? And I think the third is where you can and where it makes sense is to go 50-50. Now, I know that's challenging, but what we've noticed is that it's okay when you first start if one person has a higher shareholding than the other, but over time it breeds discontent. It feels unfair. And someone that's got 40% versus someone that's 60% is more likely to put in 40% of effort. And if someone's not fully engaged and committed to the success of the business, then the chances of the business being successful is much slimmer. Now, there might be something to take into account if one of you is putting more money in than the other one at a certain stage. So you might say, once I've been paid back, it's a 50-50 thing, or it's 50 on all of our profit, but we're going to pay one of us gets paid back at a faster rate so I can get my investment back. Some of those things are in play. I mean, how does that sound? Does that sound like a good start?
Yes, it does. It really does. It does.
I guess like one other thing to mention, and I think this is one of the reasons why Alan and I have been such good business partners over the years. tip number 4 here is about having an experiment. So when we set up the Rebel Business School, we didn't set it up as an incorporated business to begin with. What actually happened was we operated like solo entrepreneurs, where Alan would win a piece of business and then he would split the profit with me 50-50. Or I would win a piece of business and then I would split the profit with Alan 50-50, because that gave us an opportunity to work together on a couple of projects, first of all. So let me give an example. Alan won a piece of business with a big insurance company based in Germany. They had a finance team in the UK and we were going to run a day's training with their team. He rang me up and said, do you want to do this with me? And I'll split the profit with you. So we created it together to just so that we had an experience of making it real, the process of being in the same room together for a few days. Because if you haven't had that experience together yet, it's a little bit, if I use this analogy, I hope you understand what I mean, Genesis. It's not a very nice analogy, but you'll get the point. It's a bit like, it's like if you set up a business with somebody, it's a bit like getting married before you've met them. You know what I mean? It's like going to church or to mosque and having a wedding, but we've not even had a difficult conversation. I don't even know who you are yet. And, you know, and that means that later on in the relationship, you're going to have to figure out some things. Now, in some ways, a marriage is a little easier. Like in business, there are so many unexpected things that could happen. I would love you to be in a position to have understood what it's like to work together first, because if nothing else, Genesis, what you're going to get is an understanding of your strengths and an understanding of your business partner's strengths and also their weaknesses. So I'm going to put that as tip number 5 here, strengths and weaknesses. This is the other reason why Alan and I work really well. Alan is brilliant at sales in the early days. I did not understand how to sell when I started in business. What I did really well was building relationships with people. What I did really well was coming up with creative ideas. Alan's brilliance was executing the ideas and making them happen. Okay, so actually we became a really, really good fit. So understanding what your skill set is, what your business partner's skill set, what your blind spots are, where they struggle, and you can figure out, are we two of a very similar human being? Are we good at the same things? If we are, we need to be mindful of that, because we need to get some different expertise to support the things that we're not very good at. If you're lucky, you'll be good at different things and bad at different things, and then your skills will complement each other. And if you can have some of those conversations early, I think you will reap the rewards later. That's it for now. Make sense?
Brilliant, excellent.
Great.
Simon, you have more than delivered, and of course, I'm not surprised. I have experienced you guys, and there's the reason why the top companies in the UK and around the world give you money to go and empower people. they know
too kind, sir.
They know that they can trust you, and of course, as I did indicate at the beginning of this conversation, all other factors being equal, without what you guys are doing, there will be no Nigerian teachers community today, which has turned out to become, the most vibrant teachers community in the whole universe. And that's because we have Rebel Business School. I encountered you at the business school in England while I was doing my PhD, and you people helped me with those ideas. And we are using those things to empower people around the world. So Simon, we want to thank you very much for finding time to come and join us at this hour. You have taken no dime from us. We like your business model. You get, the funds from those who have it and use it to bless struggling, individuals, teachers, especially teachers in Nigeria. These people are not really getting a good deal in the hands of the employers. They are not paid as much as they deserve, and that's very unfortunate for us. And that's why this interaction we have had with you at this hour is a blessing to every one of us, because we're going to use it to set up side hustles, and God helping us, those side hustles will eventually blossom into big businesses. which you will hear about later, and then say, indeed, I'm glad that I was able to provide inspiration to the people who are making those things happen around the world. So big takeaways. Simon, I'm very glad you did underscore the fact that it's not all the time that the assumptions we make turn out to be correct, especially about the reason why I'm not able to start my business because I don't have money. So the great idea I'm taking away from you this hour is the fact that it does make sense to sell, even before you produce, because the process of selling will even convince you. Are you able to find the customer? Because if you can't produce and later start looking for customers, you might discover that the customers don't even exist. You have produced something that nobody is interested in, and then you have wasted money. And that it is very possible, and your business model has confirmed that you can get money before you actually provide the service, and those things are things that happen in life, and I can testify to the assertions that you have made. So we want to thank you very much for finding time to come, and I'm hoping that you'll be happy to come back when we do invite you again in the future. And trust us, the people who have listened to you this hour, and a lot more who will also look at the video when we do post it on YouTube, are people who are going to point to this particular your voice and say, well, that is a voice that has pushed me in the direction that I have gone into. And some of us are going to start, our own schools rather than working for other people. Those ideas I have been sitting down there thinking that, they cannot work. Let's go and experiment. Ask people to pay and sign up. And I'm also glad you mentioned the fact that we need to also be willing, to give away our service, especially when it won't cost us anything to do so. Because one of the people I believe who has paid attention this evening is somebody who is into catering. She is into food. She cooks the best, some of the best dishes around the world. And so I heard you mention, look for an accountant who has money, who probably can, may have need for wedding, wedding of a daughter or a family member, and can fund it. Cook a good meal, give it to the person for free, and the person will test your food and be convinced that, yes, this is the kind of person I would like to cook, for my audience when I do convene the party. And so these are great ideas. What are you very passionate about? And then have focus. Don't go into so many ideas. I want to, write a book. I want to go into writing a book. I want to go into teaching. I want to go into doing Uber as a driver and all of that. So if you succeed in narrowing down your idea to just one thing and focus on it, you discover that all of that things become easy. Alan, I'm taking those ones away, and I believe that every other person who has paid attention this evening is also taking, those things away. Thank you very much. I do send our warm regards to Halema, who has, facilitated this conversation we have had this hour, and send our warm regards to Alan, your founder, for the great work you guys are doing. Nigerian teachers are very proud of you, and we are grateful to you for providing us the inspiration that has made us a community. We will always remember you for good. And on that note, Alan, if there is something you don't want us to forget, in 2-3 sentences, what would that be?
That's a great question. How can I do this justice? The number one secret of business is to sell something to someone. And as soon as you focus, you can start selling. That's what I'd love you to remember, everybody. And thank you so much again. I'll certainly remember you to Alan. And we've got lots of free information available online, folks. And if that's okay with you, Peter, I can put something in the chat to point people to a place. Now, yeah. I mean, we've got the Rebel Business School website. You can just Google us to see what business events we have coming up. On Monday, we have 6,000 people attending a finance course that starts on Monday, teaching people how to understand how money works, which might be of interest to some of your audience. And then this website link here, which Halima from my team will chase me down if I don't share it. This is the link where you can access lots of videos and podcasts and articles and content to help you continue with your side hustles. So you can just sign up for that. It's completely free. We never ask anybody for money. All of our content is totally free. So you can trust in the information that we share. We're not trying to sell you anything. And that would be my final thoughts, Peter. So thank you again so much for the invitation.
And that's quite nice for Nigerian teachers to hear, because from my experience with them, they are always very afraid of people asking them to pay for anything. And you don't blame them; they don't earn a lot of money, and that's why our model is also to try and give as much as possible, to them for free, because we know it's not entirely their fault. Those who employ teachers in Nigeria are not doing a fantastic job at the moment. But again, it has a lot to do with low per capita income with respect to the Nigerian economy. Hopefully, as these businesses we are going to set up following the ideas you have provided us this hour, as they begin to gain traction, I believe the Nigerian economy will blossom, and teachers will get paid better. So thank you very much, Alan, and thank you everyone for joining us at this hour. We're grateful to you, and of course, always feel free to reach out to me between the hours of 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. on a typical evening, on a typical day. I will be happy to take your calls and respond to your questions. And if you are not a member of Nigerian Teachers community, then of course you should join for free. It's absolutely available for free. And if you like the premium membership, which gives you more value, and then reach out to me. I will give you ideas regarding how to connect to that. And we have a lot of opportunities coming from around the world, scholarships, fellowships. Those of you who would like to go and do postgraduate programs, you are seeking scholarship to go and do a PhD in the US, the UK, wherever you want to go to in the advanced world, and study for free, so that you can get the resources you need to overcome financial challenges and improve the quality of life available to your family. Be happy to reach out to me. We'll be glad to help. So on that note, we want to say bye-bye. Thanks for joining us.